Okay, this is Skill Builder number 4 on solving quadratics. The first example talks about the zero product property. So for the first one, the zero product property states if A times B equals 0, then A equals 0 or B equals 0. When we apply this in number 2, we're solving for x using the zero product property. We're going to take each part and set it equal to 0. So we're going to take 2x and set it equal to 0, and we're going to take x minus 1 and set it equal to 0, and then just solve for each. So for this, divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 0 divided by 2 is 0. And then here we add 1 to both sides, and we get x equals 1. So those are our two solutions. Same idea for part B. Take each part and set it equal to 0. So x plus 3 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3 from both sides for this one, and we get x equals negative 3. And then add 3 to both sides for this one, and we get x equals 3. So those are our two solutions. For part C, it's not in factored form, so we need to get it into factored form. And in order to do this, we're going to have to move some terms around so that we can make this equal to 0. So if we subtract 4x and we subtract 32 from both sides, then we end up with x squared minus 4x minus 32 equals 0. So then at this point, we would do our box and diamond to figure out what the factors are. And after we do that, we end up with x minus 8 and x plus 4 equals 0. So then we take each part and we set it equal to 0. So x minus 8 equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0, and solve. This one, we add 8 to both sides, so x equals 8. And then for this one, we subtract 4 from both sides, and we get x equals negative 4. So those are our two solutions. For the second example, we have the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is, so for this first part, if ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, then x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2a. So we're taking a, b, and c over here from our original equation, and we're entering into this formula. So notice there are no x's in the formula. The only x is over here on the other side of the equal sign. You're not putting any x's into here. It's all numbers. I'm going to skip down to number 5, then come back to number 4. What must the equation be set equal to in order to use zero product property or quadratic formula? For either one, it has to be set equal to 0 before you can go forward using zero product property or quadratic formula. So an example of quadratic formula, we're just going to use this formula here. So here, it's not set equal to 0. We need to make sure that we move some things around. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. So when I do that, I end up with 2x squared plus 2x minus 5 equals 0. And now I'm going to figure out what a, b, and c are so that I can plug them into the formula. So the a is going to be the coefficient in front of x squared, a equals 2. The b is going to be the coefficient in front of just the x, so b equals 2. And then the c is going to be this constant here on the end. C equals negative 5. And you always want to take the sign with it as well. So now we're going to take all three of these and we're just going to plug into this formula. So x equals, we have negative b, so negative 2. So b is 2, plus or minus, and now we have our square root. We have b squared, b is 2. I'm going to use parentheses because sometimes b can be negative, so we want to take that and square it. So that's b squared minus 4, and now we need times a times c. So times 2 times negative 5. So the square root, I'm going to extend this here, of all of that. All over, don't forget this part, 2a, so 2 times 2. So now it's just a matter of simplifying and then eventually putting it into your calculator. So we've got x equals, I'm going to leave the negative 2 here, plus or minus, and I'm going to simplify this stuff underneath the square root. 2 squared is 4, and then negative 4 times 2 times negative 5 would give us plus 44, or plus 40, I'm sorry, plus 40. And then all over 2 times 2 is 4. So then we've got x equals negative 2 plus or minus, underneath the square root we've got 44. 4 plus 40 is 44, and then all over 4. So at this point, I'm going to go in my two different directions once I have this simplified. I'm going to use one for the plus and one for the minus. So I'm going to put in negative 2 plus the square root of 44 over 4. And then I'm also going to do negative 2 minus the square root of 44 over 4. And I'm going to use my calculator for this. So you want to make sure that you're careful when you're entering this into the calculator. If I enter my first one in, I'm going to do just the top first, negative 2 plus square root of 44. I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to divide that by 4. So that gives me, if I round it, 1.16. And then same idea for the other one, negative 2 minus square root of 44. I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to divide by 4. So that gives me a negative 2.16. So x equals both of those.